WRPB and WRPB Studios. So I got to tell you that every year in my development, they come around and they hock me to pressure wash my driveway and my house. And the first year that they asked me to do it, I said, "Heh, this I can do it myself." So I rent a pressure washer, and it took me about 15 minutes to make a hole in my vinyl siding. So with me is Colin from C&C Fresh Coats. How you doing, Colin?
Good, nice to meet you.
So, what is C&C Fresh Coats?
So we specialize in painting and pressure washing. Um, we do a lot in Martin County. We are specialized. I mean, we've done some driveways. We've done some patios. I did a Banyan. Do you know Banyan House? We
Uh
did
huh.
Banyan House apartments over there. We did all the roofs and pressure washed those and cleaned them up.
So, what I've learned over the years is that pressure washing is a science.
It's it's a funny story that I first did it for my grandpa in high school, and
Okay.
so I was pressure washing the deck, and he came out to some few spots that had some frayed wood,
Okay.
and so because I was the spots weren't coming up, so I kept getting closer and I kept getting closer until they went away, and so turns out that's not exactly what you're supposed to do. So that was a good learning day that day with my grandpa in high school, but yeah.
So now you do painting also.
Yep, yep. So I actually recently moved down here about 2.5, 3 years ago. I used to paint with my dad professionally back home. He had his own business with a contractor, and painted with him for almost 8 years, about a decade, too long. About 8 years, and just when I came down here, I was working at a marina, and our cleaning lady got some quotes, and she didn't really like them, and I was very new to the place, and
Okay.
I was provided some cheap labor at first, and
Well, you have to start somewhere.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
So
I totally get that. So you paint houses, driveways, houses, outside houses,
yep,
inside room, all of it.
yep, we've done it all really. I actually just recently did somebody's driveway in Hope Sound, but yeah.
So you paint, and I guess on a driveway you have to seal it too, right?
Yep, yep, yep.
Okay, so I hate painting.
A lot of people do.
For me, I would. There's two things I really don't like doing in the home. Not that I do anything anymore because I'm old, but I hate painting,
I try not to do anything.
and I hate plumbing. And
Oh
I'm not,
yeah.
I don't. The thing I don't like about plumbing is I'm afraid that if you don't watch it and it has a leak, you're gonna mess up the house, the floor, the whole nine yards. Electric, I don't mind. I have no problem with that.
I'm the
And
opposite with that.
really,
Yeah. Been shocked a few times.
well, people think that some of these jobs are DIY jobs, and they're really not because y- with a pressure washer, you can do some serious damage.
Oh yeah.
Okay, to property and to yourself, you can get really seriously hurt.
Oh yeah.
So I believe that pressure washing is a science. I think that you have to know how much pressure to use on certain areas,
Yep.
like on a wood deck. You have to be a little careful. I guess you've learned that lesson
Yeah.
many, many moons ago.
Oh
um,
goodness.
so for you, because now you're in Florida,
Mhm.
there's two issues here. One is it could be hot as heck, okay,
Yep.
but you're dealing with your pressure washing, so you're probably soaking wet anyway, right?
Sometimes nice to get a little wet in the sun
Yeah.
if it takes off it with some of the temperature.
And the other part is it rains.
Yep.
But I guess pressure washing in the rain is no big deal because you're wetting the ground anyway, right?
Yeah. Sometimes try to start at the lowest point and then work your way up so you're not working through a puddle.
Okay.
But yeah. I mean, sometimes halfway through I usually get soaked anyway, especially if I'm doing a wall or maybe like a ceiling. I'm usually eating the water anyway.
So the the question that I have to ask is like on my house. So it's for some reason, and I'm going to say this wrong, for some reason it looks like it turns green or brown,
Yep.
the vinyl siding.
Yeah.
Do you have to use a chemical to get that off? or does it just come off with the water?
Fully honestly, I feel like there's not a big difference using chemicals or not using chemicals, just using pressure. Sometimes it will make the process go a little bit faster because it's already killed some of the stuff off.
Right.
But I don't. I feel like you can really get about the same result without chemicals.
So you try to use no chemicals.
Yeah, I don't really use them at all. I didn't use them on the Banyan house at all.
Well, and the reason I bring that up is because almost everybody uses chemicals, and the problem with that is when you're pressure washing a house, those chemicals are now coming down and going into your plants.
Yeah, you usually have to water down the foliage a lot just in case the chemicals won't. The plants are already absorbed all the water beforehand, so hopefully they won't absorb the chemicals. And also, like you said, now you got to worry about a lot of runoffs, and now you got to worry about if there's any freshwater drains going down, and you can't have chemicals going down the freshwater drains.
Oh, right.
So, a little bit more goes into it when you use chemicals too.
And that's why I say it's kind of like a science. And doing a roof is totally different than doing a driveway or the side of a house, correct?
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Okay.
Especially, Banyan was actually painted and everything, but especially when it comes to shingles and things like that, you don't want to, use too much pressure, shoot it up into the shingles, go up under, ruin it, maybe cause some damage, water damage. But yeah, it's different.
So, getting off of the pressure washer story, let's talk about painting. Okay,
Your favorite.
so only because I'm not good at it. Okay, some people are good at it.
Yeah.
I color outside the lines. So if you ask me to paint something, understand the paint will be on the floor. It'll be on the other walls. Okay, it won't be perfect.
Yeah, I can usually tell when someone has painted their own place.
So you've been painting for some time. Has that industry changed? Meaning, I remember when you used to have to put a primer coat on and then paint over it. Do you still have to do that, or
I would say basically all the primers mixed in now. It's just like a one and done. So just put 2 coats on, and it's primer mixed in with both of them.
So, in the podcast room here in the studio, those walls used to be a deep, deep red. Not in this room, in the room where the podcast is. And they painted over it. But it took them more than just 2 coats because I guess
The color change.
if you paint over a dark color, it's much more difficult.
Oh yeah, were you going to a lighter color?
Right.
Oh yeah, so it's like black to white is you might have to use a certain amount of colors because sometimes the amount of layers that you use doesn't really depend on the protectiveness. It's really like you said, trying to get the color back to what you want.
Right.
And so sometimes if it's not the correct color of the paint, you might have to do a couple more coats on there. And like you said, they had to do a lot for that because you went from a dark to a light. Vice versa. If you go from a light to a dark, a white to black, I could do maybe 1-2 coats of black and
it covers.
Yeah,
no problem.
yeah.
All right. So someone calls you and says, "Hey, I have a 3-bedroom house. I need you to paint the kitchen, the dining room, the 3 bedrooms, and the 2 baths." How, and I don't want to know a number, but how do you price it out? Do you price it out by how many rooms, by the square footage?
Square footage, and also gonna ask them, some questions about if they got crown molding, how much trim they have, how many windows. Some people, want to get a quote over the phone, and they'll have to. But I'd love to go see it in person. There's one person had a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, but they also had like 7 6-foot by 6-foot windows, and lots of doors. So painting, trim, I gotta sand the wood down, do all this, so it's a little more tedious work.
Same thing, I guess, with crown molding, right?
Yeah, exactly. So so depending on all that, that'll be how much I price it in. But yes, square footage, and by trim I do actual linear footage.
Okay, so do most people, like if you look at the trim down on the bottom here, it's a different color than the walls. Most people make the trim different color than the walls?
Yeah, I would say 99% of trims, basically all white. And I feel most people don't have a lot of white walls either, so same thing. I don't think I've seen a lot with, same color wall and trim.
See, now if I were to paint that white, it would be all over the walls and the floors.
Yeah.
Okay. So, only probably because I don't have the patience to prep. And I guess that's pretty time consuming prepping, correct?
Well, honestly, I don't. It's kind of a funny quote I just kind of say, but I feel like a lot of good painters don't really need tape. If you see some videos, maybe on YouTube or anything like that, they'll just open the can, they'll shake it up, open the can, dip their brush in, get a little, shake some off, paint some on the wall, and they just, and there's your line. You're done. No prep, just open the can and start going.
Okay, I can't make a straight line, so I don't get that part. But for you, is there more to it? Meaning, you came to I just bought the house. You come to my house. You're gonna paint. I asked you to paint, but they had nails in the walls. Do you patch all that stuff too?
Oh yeah, yeah. If the wall's not perfect, so I'll have to do some doctoring to it. Patch the walls depending on I'll offer caulk if the windows aren't very well sealed, or if I think some places need caulk. Some of the trim isn't like perfectly lined up, so
Right.
I'll offer to like mud it and make it like not such a 90-degree angle where the trim isn't, and kind of make it like a more slanted so it blends in.
I guess it's a pain when someone has window panes and you have to paint the wood around each pane. Those thin.
Yep.
That's a little trickier, I would think. Except I think getting paint on the glass just has to be scraped off, right?
Yep,
It's a
and
little
actually,
easy.
it's kind of funny because I see a lot of. I used to, when I sprayed the doors, I would tape off the windows, and I started seeing some people on YouTube where, same thing, they don't tape, so they just spray the doors, scrape the window, and that's it. There's
Right.
there's no tape at all. It's just maybe
Off glass
sand.
is a little easier.
Yep, yep.
Interesting. How? So let's just say I have a 3-bed, 2-bath house. I call you on a Monday. And you give me a quote. How long does it take between getting a quote and getting the job started? Does it take you?
Um, I would say we're probably about. If I already gave you the quote, I'd probably say we're about a week, maybe 2 weeks out. Come there, start working on it.
And the basic 3-bed, 3-bed, 2-bath house. How long does it take you to do?
Um, Depending on again how much trim and everything, but if there's, I would say on average, maybe about uh, probably about a week.
Do you do it yourself?
We got a few people, but it's a small crew. Yes,
Okay, well, a small crew is easy to keep an eye on, I guess.
and that is kind of my problem, and eventually I'll have to get over that. Hopefully, we start growing in the future. But again, like I said, a lot of good painters don't need tape, so just sand the wall down a little bit, but then just start coating. Some of them aren't. When you step back and you look at their lines, if they don't tape it, it's kind of like, I could kind of see some squiggles up there. It's like, so sometimes I watch a little too much, but
We're getting to the top of our time. How do people find you?
um, you can find me at C&C Fresh Coats on Facebook. It's also ccfreshcoats.net. The cell phone for ours is area code of 217, my home back out in Illinois, 917-2656. But yeah.
Okay, so it's C&C. So I know the first C is you.
Yep.
Where'd the second C come from?
So the second C is actually my firstborn. His name is Carter.
Okay.
I'm up to about 3 kids now. We just
Oh,
had
yeah?
our third.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Yep.
You have girls?
2 boys and a girl. Girl's middle.
Okay.
Yep.
So my daughter is probably older than you. So just so you know, between 12 and 19, they are a nightmare.
I am not looking forward to that.
Okay.
Because I can already picture it at high school guys, and I just
Okay,
don't
right.
think I can handle it.
But I will tell you this: once they get to a certain age, like 20, my daughter it became amazing. Okay, and the cool thing about a daughter is almost always they're always daddy's little girl.
Yeah.
And you
Yep.
saw,
My girl's gonna hit my wife's gonna hate you for that.
but that's what it is. Tom, who just came in with his daughter.
Yeah.
Okay, and he picked her up from. Well, she doesn't have school now, but sometimes he picks her from school and he brings her in, and they sits him down with a cell phone now.
Yep.
My daughter didn't have that, but she's really well behaved, and most of the kids that come in at that age are pretty well behaved. The boys maybe not as much, okay, because
Yeah.
they're nosy and they want to see everything.
Little rambunctious.
Everybody, pressure washing, in my view, is surely not a DIY job. And the way I think about it, and you've heard me say this before, is that could I paint a room? Yes. What might take him 4 hours, it'll take me a day and a half. In that difference in time, I can make more money than I'd have to pay somebody to do it.
That's the
So
biggest
why
thing.
not share the wealth and use that time either to make more money for me and what I know, or spend time with my family?
That took me a long time to learn because time is just priceless. So
Right.
sometimes it's better to just let other people do it.
Look, I have years on. I'm 67. So I have years on you. So I realize how precious time is. But everybody, check him out. Colin, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
Everybody, have a great day. We'll be right back.